Hello and welcome to another edition of Chill with Kaiju Kim. I'm Kaiju Kim. Hope you're all doing well on this lovely afternoon, evening, whatever time it is for you. If you are a Kaiju fan on the East Coast like me, you've probably thought at least once, man, I wish there was a Kaiju themed event that I could go to that's not all the way in Chicago or Indianapolis or somewhere I have to fly out to. Well, your prayers have been answered, ladies and gentlemen. In less than 2 weeks, there will be a one-day event taking place in Brooklyn, New York called Kaiju Brooklyn. And here tonight to talk about it is one of the fantastic people who put this event together, who also happens to be a talented artist. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. John Bellotti Jr. of Roboseven Art.
How you doing tonight?
Doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great now.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming on the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Let's see who we have in the chat tonight. We got Brendan of Autistic Lizard Productions. Hello, my friend. Welcome, welcome. And we also have MJR Creative Films. Hello.
What's up, guys?
Awesome, awesome. All right, so let's get rolling. So, John, whenever I have people on my show who have never been on my show before, I like to start off with 3 icebreaker questions.
Okay.
And those questions are: how did you get into Godzilla? What's your favorite Godzilla movie? And what's your favorite non-Godzilla kaiju movie?
3 very good questions. And luckily, I've heard those questions on so many occasions that I have answers ready to go. First, how did I get into Godzilla? That was the first question.
Yes.
Basically, I was, what's the term? A latchkey kid, you know, when your parents just put you in front of the TV. I'm a child of the, I don't want to say 80s because I was born in 79. I'm an old man, but I sort of came up when VHS was coming out. So these, you know, Toho movies would come on TV and my parents would tape them for me and I'd just watch them over and over. And then we'd have the Godzilla-thons that were on Channel 11. And basically we didn't have cable, you know. First of all, we couldn't afford it. And second of all, we just had, I guess it was, the 7 channels? Like, oh my God, I can't remember. It's 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11. And Channel 11, Channel 9, and Channel 5 would always put on monster movies for some reason. And Channel 5 would put on kaiju and kung fu movies. So that's how I became obsessed with Godzilla and kung fu movies. And then 9 would always put on the King Kong movies, like King Kong vs. Godzilla, King Kong Escapes. I don't know. I think maybe that was a Universal-owned network, so maybe that's why, because it was only on those channels. And then Channel 11 played all the other Showa movies except for, like, Destroy All Monsters, of course. Ghidorah wasn't on there. Gigan, like a lot of the 70s stuff except for Terror Mechagodzilla. But my first one that I ever remember watching was Godzilla vs. Ghidorah, believe it or not. I remember just like watching that as a kid and then watching 85. And then I saw all the Toho movies would come on, like Atragon, I remember, Gargantulas, Frankenstein Conquers the World. I would just watch them on TV. And then I had a video store by us that had like Rodan, Mothra, Mysterians, Gora. So I grew up like watching not just Godzilla, but all the secondary Toho films, the space movies, the H-Man. I remember my mom's friend taped it off of HBO for us because we didn't have cable. Yeah, and some of them I saw like the majority of these movies when I was a kid when, you know, they were all on VHS circulating around. But that's basically how I got into Godzilla, just, you know, plopping in front of a TV and being enamored with all this great stuff coming from Japan and Bruce Lee movies from China. It was so that's how I got into this stuff. And the second question was, what's my favorite Godzilla movie, right?
Yep.
So that's an answer that continues to evolve. When I was a kid, it was always Monster Zero and Ghidorah. And I hated Mothra vs. Godzilla because Godzilla lost at the end, right? Right? When he gets covered and he falls off the cliff, you're like, really?
Yeah. I was upset about that too when I was a kid.
Yeah,
but, you know, it makes sense for the story.
For the story, yeah. as I've gotten older, that has become my favorite. That's become my absolute favorite Godzilla movie, believe it or not. I think it's a perfect Godzilla movie from beginning to end. It sums up everything about the character in that one movie. I mean, it's also my favorite Godzilla suits, my favorite Godzilla score, some of my favorite miniatures in a Godzilla movie. Um, so that is my favorite. I never include Gojira because it's like everyone's. I mean, that is like a
That's
masterpiece. Yeah.
everyone's favorite.
That's everyone's. It's like it's a war movie. It's an anti-war movie. I mean, so I never include that in the list. But so it's like Mothra vs. Godzilla, Monster Zero, Ghidorah, Terror Mechagodzilla. Then it's like GMK, SLS, Destroyer, Mechagodzilla, Violante. So that's like pretty much all the ones I've done posters are my favorites. And your other question was, what is my favorite non-Godzilla movie or kaiju? I don't remember.
Yeah, favorite non-Godzilla kaiju movie.
Well, Gamera 2, by far. Gamera 2. So the short of that story is, in the 90s, I was sort of getting out of Godzilla because of Destroyer. You know, I had that on VHS from some dude that had all like the subtitle Toho movies. So I saw all them when they came out. And a friend of mine was like, you got to check out Gamera Guardian of the Universe. And I'm like, I'm not watching that movie. Like, that's probably crap. So I was going into Chinatown in Manhattan, and I found Gamera 2. And at this point, this was maybe like two years after the movie came out. It might have been like 98 when I found this movie. So I bought it on VHS. I came home. And like I said, at this point, I was sort of out of the kaiju stuff and more into like anime at that time and like Hong Kong action movies. So I put Gamera 2 on. It's like this crazy, fan sub bootleg. And I was blown away by the design of Gamera. Like, it's still my favorite Gamera suit of all time, aside from the Gamera 67 suit. My mouth like hit the floor. Like when he flies in at the end for his final assault against Legion, and he's flying, and when he lands and he's sliding across the city blowing fireballs. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. Like, I could talk about that scene for like hours, but I won't because I don't want to lose all our viewers. So Gamera 2 is my absolute favorite kaiju, non-Godzilla kaiju film.
That's awesome. Yeah, I usually hear people say Guardian of the Universe or Revenge of Iris, but never Legion. So that's interesting for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we got a couple more people in the chat. Hello to Michael Cherkowski and Gojira Trek. Hello.
What's up, fellas?
Thank you for joining us tonight. All right, so let's get to our main topic, Kaiju Brooklyn. So you're running this event in collaboration with BK1 Productions, correct?
Correct. My partner's name is Anthony Marino, and he's been doing events for the last 10 years or so.
Awesome. So which one of you thought of this first? Like how did this come to be?
So like I was talking to you earlier, there's the simple answer is I just wanted to make a kaiju show in Brooklyn to sell my licensed Ultraman shirts, because what happened was I got the license to make the shirts last fall, and I wanted the shirts in time to sell at Anime NYC at the Javits, but I couldn't get final approval. I couldn't get shirts made until like March. So I kind of freaked out, and I said, I need to make like an event. Now I had the idea in my head earlier, I want to say earlier last year, when I noticed that whenever I would do a New York-based convention like Comic-Con or whatever, I'd do really well there financially. And there was always like a good, strong fan base of kaiju people here. And I remember we had a G-Con back in the 90s, which is the precursor to G-Fest, was here. And I remember going to that show before it split for Chicago. So I remember what it was like having a Godzilla show here. But basically, I had the idea last summer because me and my friend Chris of Seismic Toys were doing local events here around the city, and we hooked up with the great people at Japan Society. They did a screening of Mothra last summer, sold out 220 tickets, sold out a full theater. We set up a few tables in the lobby to sell our wares. I couldn't believe it was like a bum rush. It was insane. I couldn't believe how well we did and how eager the people were to buy prints and toys and stuff. So that kind of sparked the idea of it. And we also wanted a show that we can do in New York that we don't have to travel to, right? Like you were mentioning earlier. And again, New York is the largest media capital in the world. We have, I don't know, like most of the population on the East Coast is in New York. So, and like I said, I knew there's a lot of kaiju fans here. So fast forward to this year. Again, we did another event at Japan Society for Destroy All Monsters, another sellout event. We did really well there. I did an event at this place called Industry City in Brooklyn, which is where we're currently doing Kaiju Brooklyn. And it was an anime food fest, and it was in a place called Japan Village. Now, Japan Village is this giant food hall inside Industry City. And on the second floor is this like event space where they have like a book off. I don't know if you know what a book off is, which is like, yeah, you know what a book off. Most of our listeners probably do. They have like a kakigori place. They have a daiso. They have a lot of cool shops in a big open space to do events. Like recently they put like a bunch of gashapon machines in there that now they still have these machines. And I've been trying to get in with them for a while to do, I said, I just want to set up a table there and see how I do. I want to sell my stuff and sell my prints and sell my shirts. And if it does well, then maybe I'll try to do like a show there if they'll have me. They never got back to me, unfortunately. But my friend Rob, who works inside Industry City, I should say what Industry City is. It's basically these like 6 giant former manufacturing buildings, right? And there are many floors, and must be like 20 stories tall, or probably, I think it's like 10 stories tall. And they turned it into like bars and restaurants. There's like an ice skating rink there in the winter. There's tons of stuff to do. They have tons of events. So my friend Rob said, hey, I know a guy who just opened an event space inside Industry City, and he would like to do more events. So maybe you could pitch him like doing that show you've been talking about doing for a while. I said, okay. So while I was thinking about, leading up to pitching it to this guy, the writers and actors in Hollywood went on strike, and that's where I work. I work in Hollywood. I paint sets for movies and TV shows. So I had a lot of time coming to me. So I said, you know what? I have the time. I have the connection. Let me go forward with this. Let me meet with this guy, because now I know I can dedicate myself to this thing fully, 100%. And I met up with him in mid-July, sold him the idea. I said, look, I want to collaborate. I want to do a kaiju show here. Maybe we'll have a few tables, maybe a screening. He's hosted events there, like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which like 400 people showed up to. He does Shakespeare out there. He does tons of like concerts. He just did a movie screening for a horror movie the other night. So he was sold on it. And I said, look, we're going to do like a proper show. So he's never done a pop culture show, but he's wanting to do one. And him and his partner love kaiju stuff. So I said, okay, look, I have the resources. I know the vendors. I know the artists. I have the connections. I have my connection with Superaya. I can maybe get them involved. And he said, okay, great. And he was going to be the logistics person, selling tickets and helping with promotion, stuff like that. So he got that end covered, and I had everything else covered. And I had to basically, sort of explain to him like what a show is and what we need and what to expect. And so we've sort of been educating each other, like learning from each other about like how to put on a show and then how to hype a show and how to sell a show. And it's been a great partnership. I couldn't be happier to be doing this with Anthony and his crew. Their space is wonderful, and Anthony's just a dream to work with. And so yeah, we hit the ground running in July, and I said, hey, maybe we could do something in the spring of 24. And he goes, well, I was thinking maybe October. And I went, oh, damn, October. And it was like late July when we locked in the date. So I pretty much spent the entire month of August scrambling to get the show together. And honestly, I had all the vendors ready to go, because I was sort of pitching this to a lot of them for months that I was going to do something. So they, like within 24 hours, I sold out all the tables. And when Anthony said, we can do 20 tables, I said, great. Well, I have 20 people I can bring in. And I'm still getting people asking me to participate, which, I unfortunately have to waitlist them. So pretty much everything is set up. Everything's ready to go. We're doing really well with tickets. We're hitting our pre-sale ceiling. Actually, by the end of the week, we're going to, make an announcement about that. But we're in really good shape ticket-wise. And the only hiccup we had was getting the screening of Shin Godzilla, just getting approval and getting that in a timely manner was the only hiccup. But we had backup plans. But regardless, that's the story behind Kaiju Brooklyn. It's just something I wanted to do, something I wanted to bring to New York because it's sorely needed. And I just wanted to be in a place that wasn't like some big warehouse in North Brooklyn where a lot of events are happening and there's no parking. I wanted to be in a part of Brooklyn that is hip because, like, if you come into Kaiju Brooklyn and it's like too many people in there, you know what? You can go grab a drink right across the hall from the venue. You can go grab something to eat. You can go take a walk and get some ramen at Japan Village or something, and then come back. You can go to the wine store next door and get loaded up or something. I don't know. St. Mark's Comics is also next door. You can go into there and then come in our show. So there's not like you're going to be waiting outside like with nothing to do. You can go wander around this place and just explore it and then come to our show. That's the best part about it. So that's my really long-winded explanation for Kaiju Brooklyn.
That's awesome. I'm very excited for this event. Like, soon as I saw the announcement, I immediately put it on my calendar. Like, I'm not missing this. I'm very excited. Looking forward to it. All right, let's
Awesome.
see. Let's see who we have in the chat. Okay, hello, sci-fi nerds. What's going on? Thanks for joining us. Wayne Ashford. Hello, hello. And Michael said you're doing Shin Ultraman, not Shin Godzilla, right?
Yeah, did I say Shin Godzilla?
You said Shin Godzilla.
Oh my God. Yeah, sorry about that. Shin Ultraman. Sorry about that. I didn't even catch myself.
That's all right. That's all right. And Man in Putney Hill says, sounds like a really fun event. Indeed it does. Indeed it does. So tell us a little bit about what the attendees can expect. What's going to go down at this event?
Well, so this is our inaugural year, and we only have so much space right now. So the focus, think about the dealer's room at a show like G-Fest, right? You go in and it's just toys. Used to be, well, it's always just been toys, and they had the Artist Alley, rest in peace. But at this show, you're going to go into the room and see it all. You're going to have toy dealers, sofubi people. You're going to have artists all mixed in together. You're going to have, we have a great vendor called Showa Robo, and he's bringing a lot of great vintage tin, like Japanese toys. Like, he's bringing some like Ultraman, and I remember like he showed me a photo of the Bullmark Gigan tin toy from the 60s he's bringing. And he's also filming his movie, a documentary called Mint in Box about, toy collectors. So, if people sign a waiver, they can be part of his documentary. And we're also excited to have not only all our vendors and artists, but we're going to have the Ultraman Connection people here. Our good friend EJ is going to come. He's going to spread the gospel of Ultraman. And we're planning on having him give a somewhat short panel before the screening of Shin Ultraman, which will lead into our other good friend, Kevin Darendorf, of doing an intro to Shin Ultraman. So EJ is going to do like what's coming up for Ultraman, what we have going on for Ultraman, and then Kevin will take it over and do like an intro to Shin Ultraman and maybe like a Q&A session. We don't know. We're still sort of figuring out what we really want to do with that and with the space. And honestly, the movie's outdoors, so it's all weather permitting. So, that's like our biggest thing is watching the weather, making sure it's not going to rain. So it's basically, like I said, a lot of toy vendors, a lot of artists, the Ultraman people, the documentary, the screening at the end of the show. And there'll be some cosplayers there. We have like a cosplay booth coming into our show. And it's just, let's be honest. When we will go to G-Fest, what do? We go upstairs and buy, drop thousands on toys. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing. It's really just creating that here. And, and the place across the street from us, the Frying Pan, it's called. Like I said, they're a bar and restaurant. They're going to be coming up with kaiju-based drinks. So we have to name some fun kaiju drinks. So they're going to be participating. St. Mark's Comics will also be participating. They'll have a booth outside their storefront as well. And that's pretty much the gist of it. I mean, we're talking about next year already. We're talking about expanding to a bigger space and including more. This year was, is there a market for it? Is there a fan base for it? Like, I knew it was all there. We just, had to put this thing on. It's like, if you build it, they will come, right? So anyway, put this thing on, and now we're getting close to our ticket limit of what we can, comfortably fit in the space. So there's going to be a line if everyone shows up at the same time. I can do about that. But you know, if we go to a bigger space, we'll have more vendors. We'll have maybe like a, I don't know, like a food section, a model kit section, like more areas for panels. So it'll be, you know, a 2-day event. So again, you know, you don't want to start this show and do like 3 days out of the gate and, you know, spend thousands and thousands of dollars on something and only like 50 people show up. I mean, you know, a lot of these shows, like the biggest shows in the world, like San Diego Comic-Con, started out with, you know, a bunch of dudes in like a small room, you know. And I just went to a show called Jersey Fest and over the weekend, and I was talking to the guy who used to own it. And he said, this show started as something I would do in my basement. I had people come over, we built model kits. Jersey Fest is a big model kit show. It's actually an amazing show. There's a lot of kaiju stuff there. But he said, yeah, I started in my basement and then had 5 people, then that turned to 10 people, that turned to 20. Soon it turned to people coming over, like flying in and staying at hotels. And then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, we're already bigger than that out of the gate, which is great. I'm really excited about that. And so this is basically what we're calling a proof of concept, right? This is what it is. This is what it could be. And it's only going to get bigger from here. So that's what people can expect. And it's going to be an environment that there's going to be a lot of good people there. I made sure to curate this thing. Got a lot of really great artists, like really, I got Dope Hope come in, Bill Couture, Steve Chang, Gino Patty. I got so many good people, John Debbio, like really talented artists coming. And the vendors, I mean, Vampire Robot Seismic Toys, Ultrazilla, there's so many that are coming that are just bringing so many great things. And it's just going to be like a fun vibe for everybody. So that's what they can expect.
That's awesome. So Kaiju Brooklyn is essentially a mini G Fest, but without all the, you know, cool guests. But I guess that would have been a little difficult to achieve.
Yeah, I have tons of connections for that stuff. I'm not worried about not getting guests, and I've had offers. But what I said to my friend who has access to these guys, I said, look, I would love for like, you know, Ben Faruya to come out, but I don't want him to fly from Japan for 17 hours for a 1-day event that we don't know if it's going to work or not, you know? Now that we know, like, okay, we're heading into like really good territory, it's like, okay, you know, maybe we do have something here. And then obviously when we have the show, then we could say, okay, this is what works, this is what doesn't work. The turnout was great. Let's bring in guests next year. Let's do all this stuff. So, you know, we're starting conservatively. Jeff Zorno was probably the most famous person aside from Dope Hope coming to the show. And Jeff Zorno needs no introduction. He's IDW comic artist. And I'm really, really excited to get him to come out of his retirement, his exile. So, but yeah, so no guests at the moment. But basically, like Michael's saying, learn to walk before we run. I'm not going to, like I said, not going to bring tons of people out for a show where only 50 people show up. So we'll see what happens next year. But let's just say we have a lot of really big plans for next year.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I was actually going to ask you, like, if this year goes well, which I'm pretty sure it will. Like, I was going to say, ask if you were going to think of making this like a full weekend event.
Originally, we were going to do 3 days with screenings every day. Maybe do like a Friday night show, like an early access or VIP or something, and then, you know, screen. Like we had access to over 18 hours of Ultraman content we could screen, but unfortunately, when we cut it back down to one day, you know, and the reason why we did 1 day, obviously, like I said, to start conservatively, was because I only had a month to prep. You can't like when I got married, it took us a year to plan our wedding for a 1-day event, right?
Same here.
Exactly. So, you know, so doing a show where you have tons of moving parts, more than a wedding, right? Because a wedding, right, you find a catering hall, you get the DJ, you get, I don't know, like the dress, the outfits, you get the guests, and then you do the bridal shower. Right? I'm trying to remember. And then you just sort of, I don't want to say coast until the end, but, you know, you get everything set up. But with this, it's like every day I'm doing something, some promoting, and I just felt like I didn't have enough time to properly promote to do a 2-day show. And again, it's, you know, let's crawl before we can walk, basically. So, you know, do we want to do a multi-day show next year? 100%. But we're toying with the idea of, do we do a spring show in May and then do another fall show, or do we just save it all for a full weekend? That's the sort of thing we're talking about. I would love to do something in May. That's a really great month for doing shows. October's tough because there's literally our show, and then the next weekend I'm also doing New York Comic Con, but there's also Monster Mania that weekend in Maryland, and then a new show, Famous Monsters Festival out in Pennsylvania. So there's all these shows going on like the same weekend. It's pretty packed in October. So I think, May would be a good month. But again, nothing is set in stone, and I don't want to get people's hopes up. But that's sort of what we're looking at for next year.
Yeah, well, I hope it ends up going in that direction because this sounds like a fantastic event. Now, you mentioned some of the vendors and artists that are going to be there. Like, who else is going to be there? Like, can you list some people off?
Sure. Let me get my list, because last time I did this, I didn't have my list and I missed like 10 people.
Oh,
and I felt really bad about it. So we have Dope Pope. We all know, does everyone know who Dope Pope is? Worked on the legendary films, designs Godzilla toys. He worked for X. He designed the X Plus Iris figure. He's working for YMSF right now. Worked on Marvel movies. Jeff Zorno, Gino Patti, who is a good friend of mine. We used to do G-Fest together. He does a lot of great chibi stuff. Hasn't done the show since G-Fest 2019. Myself, obviously, Roboseven. I will be there with my Ultraman shirts and my art prints. I have a great artist named Steve Chanks coming down. He does a lot of cool retro, like really colorful retro horror and kaiju stuff. He's coming down from upstate New York. Really cool, like 50s-esque sort of artwork, really cartoony and stylized. Kind of like rockabilly sensibility. Got kaiju sketches. Giuseppe's coming out. He's a really unique artist. He does these kaiju drawings, but he implements nature in them, right? So he's got this great Shin Godzilla with all like these trees coming out of it. And it's always like, it's a lot of like great profile shots of the kaiju. He just did a great Gamma Rebirth, and it's all like hand inked, and he makes prints and he sells originals. So really excited to have him come out. He's also another G-Fest artist. Viscerally Yours is her handle. I'm excited about her. She is coming out with hand-painted clothing accessories. Like she's got like handbags. She's got jackets. She's got, and they're all painted with like, I think it's like a leather paint she uses, but it's all kaiju stuff. It's like, she's got a Biollante one, a Hedorah, Godzilla. She's coming with these really cool limited edition patches. There's like the Rose Biollante. It's like that big, $6. And then there's like these two, like it's a Hedorah eye, but it's shaped like a heart with the two eyes, like right here. And she's bringing that for only, $6. So we're really excited about her because she's very unique. And that's the thing I wanted to do was, stuff is one of a kind. When that's Michael saying his stuff is sick. It really is. Like when I shared her Mothra handbag, all these, like a few females were like, I need that. I said, well, come to the show because that's where it's going to be. But her stuff is really cool. Really excited to have her. I got Bill Couture coming down from New Hampshire. Bill is one of my favorite artists, really good friend of mine. He hasn't done the show since G-Fest 2019. So I'm pulling him out of retirement. I'm pulling all these guys out of retirement. It's like the Expendables of like kaiju artists. It's pretty hilarious. But his stuff is amazing. He's a lot of like heavy line work. He does these crazy, crazy kaiju concepts that he comes up with entire stories. Like his version of Godzilla vs. Kong is much better than the actual movie. And he started the whole Kong with the shotgun, viral stuff back in 2020. I got John Gebbia coming in. John does a lot of really great kaiju art. He's got a comic book called Dose, which is like kaijus plus drugs plus sex. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But he does a lot of great pencil drawings of like ultra characters and Godzilla. And he makes his own vinyl figures. And one of them is called, I forget the name, John, don't kill me. But it's sort of a play on Pigmon. And it's like, he's sitting there and he's like drooling. It's a really cool Sofubi toy that he makes. I'm excited to have him as well. Seismic Toys, they also have the license to make Ultraman Sofubi. They're coming with their Ultraman stuff as well as like plenty of Bandai toys. and Playmates toys and whatever Chris is bringing. I know it's going to be good, but he does a lot of shows. We do a lot of shows together. He's a good friend of mine. He always brings a lot of the modern Bandai stuff too, and I just saw some of his inventory, and it's really exciting. Got Muteki Toys coming. Good friend of mine, Raymond, Brennan, and Casey. These guys are so cool. What I like about them is that what they carry in their store is a lot different than a lot of these the other vendors I have. They carry a lot of Kamen Rider, a lot of Ultraman, a lot of Super Sentai stuff, a lot of accessories like that. A lot of the band Presto, the figure arts, they sort of got that angle going for them. Really excited to have these guys. They're really good friends of mine, and they bring a lot of great energy to the show. Vampire Robots, Michael Chakowski, needs no introduction. He brings some of the finest toys in the marketplace to the populace. He brings a lot of great X Plus, a lot of Sophie, a lot of great. He's really great at picking a lot of cool stuff that a lot of other vendors don't have. And it's hard to explain until you see it, but he'll have like the Bear Brick stuff. He'll do a lot of the Metacom stuff, which I bought tons of that stuff off of him as well. So he's coming in with 2 tables. He's coming in hard with a lot of great stuff. Tokyo Bronx is coming. I met them at Anime NYC last year. They are like an outfit out of the Bronx, obviously, but they do a lot of like cosplay and anime and gaming, and they do like these sort of networking social mixer events, and they bring a lot of people together. So they'll do stuff at like libraries and schools and other conventions. And they're bringing sort of the cosplay element to the show. I have the Mint in Box documentary, obviously Showa Robo, which I mentioned earlier. They're bringing a lot of great vintage tin toys. Steve Holliner of Speakeasy of Strength. I know it sounds kind of strange, but he's a guy I know, a friend of mine, actually. I shouldn't say guy I know. It sounds so impersonal. But he owns a CrossFit gym. And the reason why we got friendly is because he was buying my art and decorating the gym with my artwork. So I went in there during COVID and was buying kettlebells from him to do some home workouts. And I walked in, I'm like, oh my God, look at all this. Like, he's got X Plus all over the place, but he is looking to downsize his X Plus collection because he got a new CrossFit gym. So he is coming to the show to sell a lot of his X Plus collection. So he's going to be like my X Plus guy. I have Ultrazilla coming. I don't know if you're familiar with Ultrazilla.
I am.
Yes, he's a very popular toy reviewer. He's coming mostly to promote his YouTube channel, but he's also bringing some stuff from his collection to sell as well. I don't know exactly what, but I know it's sci-fi, comic, and kaiju all related. I have Last Bastion Studios. So my good buddies are coming in from California to sell their original Sophie stuff. They also have the license to make Ultraman toys, which they'll be bringing samples of. But they have an original kaiju called Ragnar, which is a turtle with a cannon for an arm. Cool. So they're bringing those. They made a luchador vinyl, a luchador toy, right? And the toy is painted in the colors of Kamen Rider Black RX, Kamen Rider Ryuki. So he's bringing a lot of toys like that. Excuse me as I put a cough drop in my mouth before I lose my voice again. And the last but not least is Ultraman Connection. They are the official English language American website for Ultraman. And they are part of Starlight Runner. It's Jeff Gomez and EJ who are the ones responsible for bringing Ultraman over here to the United States. And Ultraman is blossoming into a pop culture icon over here. So we're really excited to have Ultraman Connection. And they're excited to be at our show. And we have the eyes of Subaraya on us, and I'm sure we have the eyes of Toho on us, and they're all looking at us, and they're all curious, and they're excited about us, and they want to see what this is, and I have a feeling that there's going to be more, I don't want to say, I don't want to jinx it, but I just have a feeling that their presence might hopefully be larger going forward, because there's nothing like what we're doing here, and the fact that we have Ultraman's involvement is a huge get for us and for myself, and I'm really excited to have them. But there's talk of us maybe having them, bring out maybe someone in a costume from a show, perhaps. I don't know. I could say for certain that, not to get off my show, but at New York Comic Con, they will have the costume actors there from Japan, and they will be coming by my booth for photo ops and such. But there might be an opportunity maybe down the road to have them make an appearance. And I should mention that we do have a few cool cosplayers coming. We got Kamen Rider cosplayer coming. We have Power Ranger cosplayer coming. We have a Alien Zeton cosplayer coming. So we're excited about that as well. And the exciting part about this show is when we screen Shin Ultraman, we're going to do a lot of filming of that. We're going to get a lot of people's reactions to it. And we're going to send that to the Super Aya people. And they're going to not only feature us on Ultraman Connection, but they're going to feature us on the YouTube channel of Ultraman.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. So we got to make sure we get a lot of good video of everyone. So yeah, there's a lot of, a lot of cool things, a lot of cool things.
A lot of cool things. That was quite an impressive list of guests you got there.
Yeah, thank you. They're all handpicked by me because I'm sure you've been to many conventions where you go and there's like 900 people selling Funko Pops, and I did not want that show. I don't want Funko Pops at my store. There's plenty of opportunities to go buy Funko Pops. That's not us. We're selling something totally different. If someone has a Funko Pop, I'm not going to kick them out, but I'm not looking to have a dealer just selling Funko. So that was the whole idea behind it. Get really good, talented, and well-stocked, what's the word I'm looking for? Dealers with great reputations and great inventory, and just have something unique to show and sell. So yeah, really excited about all these people coming.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. We got a question. Will there be an online presence for Kaiju Brooklyn for those of us outside the area? And looks like your buddy Michael answered that already.
Yes.
He's going to do a live stream and podcast, apparently.
Yes, he is trying to get all the vendors of the show in half-hour blocks to do a live stream / podcast throughout the day. He's got a great room in the back that they do a lot of podcasting in. So, we just sort of found, I knew about this for a little while, and we sent out the link today. And then as we get closer to the show, we will make it accessible for people. Hopefully we can make it accessible for everyone to sort of listen in. I'd love to have like a camera setup, like a live stream, for people just to like see what's going on. But yeah, we're going to do our best to get it out to as many people as possible.
That's awesome. And of course, I will be in attendance. And obviously, I have a YouTube channel, so I will be vlogging and doing my own little documentation.
Yeah. Film away. Film as much as you want, as long as you want, whatever you want to do.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about the Shin Ultraman screening.
Sure.
So I'm curious, what made you choose Shin Ultraman?
Well, for one, I love the movie. Out of all the Shin movies, it's my favorite. There's elements I like of the other movies, Shin Godzilla and Kamen Rider, but Shin Ultraman for me was the most engaging, and I think was the most fun out of all of them. And we had access to Janus Films and their Godzilla library. But with, I've been watching the Godzilla channel on Pluto TV so much since the summer, and I can't really stomach watching any more Showa films, especially on the big screen. I don't know how other people feel. Maybe it'll blow up my face. I don't know. I know how many people are coming to the screening, so it's a good amount of people, which I'm excited about. But for me, I wanted something new. I wanted something that hasn't been seen widely. I mean, Shin Godzilla has been out for a while. A lot of people have access to it. Kamen Rider's on Amazon. But Shin Ultraman is still a little tough to find unless you have the Cleopatra DVD. It's not streaming. So I wanted something that people missed out on, they haven't seen. I wanted it to be a new experience. And plus, like I said, I also have, cooperation with Super Aya Productions. So I have them, pretty much, allowing me to show the movie. And again, showing this movie gives me access to their website and gives me access to, have our stuff, shown on the Ultraman channel. So it's sort of like it works in both of our favor, basically. And this is something that with the screening, if it goes well, there's talk of maybe we do more Ultraman pop-ups in the future. I don't know. Maybe we're like the official Ultraman destination for in New York. I don't know. But I know they're excited about it. We're excited about the possibility and the potential of it. But that's basically why I picked Shin Ultraman, just because it's not widely viewed like the other films.
I think that's a pretty good reason. Now, important question: will there be popcorn?
Yes, there'll be popcorn. There'll be concessions, of course.
Yay.
And Brooklyn One Productions will be selling that stuff as well. So at a reasonable price, not at like, Regal or AMC prices.
$25,000.
Yeah, it's not going to be like $50 for a bucket of popcorn. It'll be much more reasonable.
Awesome. So, what were some of the challenges you faced while putting all of this together?
Oh God, doing it in a month is there were nights where I would lay in bed and like remember like, oh my God, I got to email this person, and then I got to do this, and we have to make sure we have this, because like I said, I was educating Anthony on how to do the show. So it was like making sure I knew what I had to do for him. So, and then like I said, going into next year will be a lot easier because then we know what to expect. But doing something like this, I don't want to say it's this large, but it is quite large. It's 20 vendors plus all these other moving parts. Just like nailing down who I want to come, making sure payment gets in on time, because it gets tricky. It's like, well, am I going to promote this person that might not pay me, or not? That's the wrong word. I'm sorry. It's like, well, this person, what if they don't? If they don't pay and I'm promoting them, it's like that's usually like you pay first and then they sort of promote you. I mean, that's what I've noticed with shows anyway. And then I had people that I had booked for the show and I was ready to promote them, and then they backed out. It's like, okay, so so that was like a little challenging, people and their schedules and stuff like that. Like I said, the movie was the hardest one because the Godzilla stuff is easy. Like we wanted 84, we wanted Godzilla 84. Actually, that was one of the first movies we wanted to show. Finding that movie has been like finding the Holy Grail or something. It's impossible. Like I can't. Like we needed more time than a month to track that movie down. So Shin Ultraman, like I said, that was like the easy thing for me. It's just that movie, the people that are behind it, it's a different committee than my contacts at Tsuburaya. So it doesn't just go through my contact. It goes to Tsuburaya and then the Shin Ultraman team, which is like, I guess, Shinji Higuchi and his people. So that was like the biggest hurdle was, we reached out to them in late July and didn't get a final answer on it, I think, until late August, early September. And that's a long time because we started selling tickets like August 5th. And we're selling a screening that we couldn't announce. And that was tough. That was the most stressful part of the whole show, was waiting to get approval, selling people on a screening that they don't know what they're going to see. And it's like, what are they going to see? So it's like, okay, then once we lock that down, I want to say it might have even been sooner than that, because once we announced that screening, we sold like 40 tickets like that next day or something. It was insane. So, that was the hardest, most challenging part. And again, that comes down to not having enough proper lead time to give yourself that, that wiggle room, that elbow space, basically, to lock a movie down. Then you can make the announcement. And so that was definitely the most challenging part of the show. Everything else has been like, actually, again, the other challenging part is the screening as well, because we had access to a courtyard if we're going to show the screening, but then the venue unfortunately double booked that screening without telling us, and then we have to move it to another courtyard. So, I have to make it a formal announcement by that, but that was something beyond our control. And again, the weather is also something beyond our control. We'll have to figure out a contingency for that. But everything after that, I mean, everything else has been pretty straightforward, honestly. You got the tables, you got the vendors, you got the payment, got, everything lined up. It's just waiting for the event at this point. And Mother Nature to cooperate.
Yes, please, no rain.
Yes,
no rain
please.
On Saturday, October 7th, please.
Yeah.
Amen. All right, but yes. So if next year, if you want to do 84, I have a physical copy. Just saying.
Oh, well, we'll have to talk about that.
All right. So one last question here before we head out. So what are you most looking forward to for Kaiju Brooklyn?
Um, Getting the first one under my belt, honestly, it's hard because it's like when an actor is also directing himself in a movie. It's like you're part of it, but you're also not part of it, and you're trying to like perform. Basically, by me being the actor, it's me selling at the show, obviously, but also helping to run it. But luckily, Anthony and his partners and his crew will be there, and they'll be doing a lot of that logistical stuff. So I can sort of like, hopefully take a step back and sort of let them take charge of that and let them, load in, everyone and get that set up. I'm looking forward to just doing it and having a good time because that's all I really like to do when I do shows and or when I go to work. I just want to like have a good time, sell some stuff, meet some people, meet some fans, like meet you in person. Like that'd be kind of cool, because there's so many people. Like when I do shows, they say, "Oh, and they tell me their Instagram handle, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah, hey, how
Oh
are
yeah,
you?
oh it's you. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know
it's
you. Good
you.
old you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you. What's your name?" And I don't know their real name. And it's, "Oh yeah, we talked once." And then like, it's weird because like sometimes people will talk to you through social media, but then in person, like they don't say much. And it's like, okay, I guess this is the end of the conversation, right
Good,
at the
hey, good,
beginning.
good to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good, all right.
That happened to me at G Fest last year. Like I
Yeah,
ran into like, hey, you write books and like and then oh you make YouTube videos. Okay, great, bye.
yeah. So I've had that. For the most part, 99% of the interactions I've had have not been like that, thankfully. Everyone's been really great, really cool. But there's always like the one, it's like, oh yeah, and then they just like one guy would come up and go, "Oh yeah, hi, it's me from, you know, I forgot what app he was talking to me," and then he just like kept walking. I'm like, "Okay, see ya,"
Good. All right, good talk.
"Yeah, have
See you next
fun.
time. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
see ya. Thanks for the support, man." Um, but yeah, I'm just looking forward to getting the first one under my belt because we had it's a funny story. We have someone coming to the show. He works for a very big arena in New York, and he really wants to bring Kaiju Brooklyn to this big arena. But we're like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's see what the first show looks like because we haven't even done the first show yet, um, and then we can talk because we're also finding that's like another challenge is like we're also looking for people to help with sponsorship because if we have people that sponsor it we could also invest more into the show like we could expand more but it was hard to find a lot of sponsors. We do have one. Nick Huber is our official sponsor and he's running a website called Sakura Central which he's bringing his goal with the website is to bring Japanese kaiju fans and Western kaiju fans together on his website. And I was on his podcast. He's a great guy. He's, like I said, he's our official sponsor. Um, Sponsorship, like I said, would be great, but it's hard to sell someone sponsorship on a show you haven't done yet. You know what I mean? Even like promoting it, like people are just sharing our flyers, but like, where's the photos? Like, where are the people packed into the venue? Where are the cosplay? Like, there's no photos, so it's like we're selling them on an idea. And I think right now, with the way the economy is, it's like people aren't as willing to part with money, right? Just yet. They want to know what it is they're participating in, basically. So that's been a challenge. But so that's kind of what I want to, what I'm looking forward to. Is that day, and I envision it like the doors opening and everyone comes in and people were just looking around and laughing and having a good time and buying stuff and that's the thing. I want to make sure that the show is not only successful for attendance but I want to make sure the show is also successful for vendors. And if the vendors aren't making anything then it's, well, what's the incentive to come back? So that's the other thing that I'm sort of eager to see is like what kind of crowd are we going to bring? Is this a crowd that's going to withhold their money because maybe they want to go to Comic-Con the next week? Or is this a crowd that's going to be picky? Like, I don't know, but I know we have a good amount of people coming, and chances are people will make their tables back. I just want to make sure it's worth it for them to have participated in the show. So it's just a lot of things. It's hard to like look forward to something when it's so new and you don't really know what it's going to be until the day of, and then you still don't even know until the dust settles, you know, and it might even be like a week after where you start realizing, okay, well, what's our progress report? Like, what did we do wrong, or what can we do better? So yeah, that's what I'm most looking forward to, is sort of like getting it up and running, and then learning and just seeing what it's going to be, basically. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
That's awesome, and I'm just looking forward to the entire thing. Like I said at the beginning, like finally a kaiju event that I don't have to fly out to. Hooray!
No, I'm very happy about that. And you know, part of it was, you know, G Fest is a great show. I met some of my closest friends at that show back in 2015. Like, I literally met all my newest friends at that one show. It's pretty great. But you know, after COVID, they, for reasons I won't go into detail, they changed their rules regarding artists. So that really hurt a lot of the artists, myself included. We were all, you know, felt, everyone was a little hurt. I'm not saying the artists were innocent in what happened. I don't really need to go into details of it, but let's say it was a two-way street for the most part. But a lot of the artists felt dejected, and I said, look, you know, I invited a lot of the ex-artists from that show to this show, and I'm trying to get Nick Shev to come out. I love Nick Shev, and I'd love to get Lenny Romero out to the show as well. But you know, taking that show away from us was tough, because G-Fest, it's not only a show about going to selling your stuff and making money. It's seeing your friends and hanging out. And it's like 3 days of just like catching up and stuff like that. So I hope I can create that here with Kaiju Brooklyn. I really do, and I really hope it becomes that event where people are like, because I see with G-Fest, like the show's in July, and in August I'm still seeing posts like, I'm depressed that the show is still over and I miss it. And like, I want people to say that about Kaiju Brooklyn. You know, like I want them to feel that way about it. And if my wedding was any indication, the wedding that we planned is still talked about to this day. Like, I had so much fun at your wedding, and this was like back in 2017. So I have a good track record. I'm just kidding. I have no idea what's going to happen. But like I said, I just want to make an event that people come and they look forward to it, and they have fun, and they can just be their best kaiju selves at, and not, you know, I want them to wear the black graphic Godzilla t-shirts or my Ultraman t-shirts, wink wink, at this show. Exactly. But that's why I wanted to create this show. Just give people a community and give them a place to go and celebrate this stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Community is so important. And it's like you said, like G-Fest, for example, is like, it's so much better when you have people to share it with. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So hopefully that will be created with Kaiju Brooklyn as well.
I hope so. And I hope to get, you know, someone asked me yesterday, like, would you invite like M1 Toys out? And I said, well, I know Marasan Toys comes out for Five Points Festival in Brooklyn, and he loves New York, and I'm hoping I could maybe bring him out to a show, or M1, or there's talk of maybe Bandai Bluefin coming to our show. There was talk of that this year, but that sort of fell through with Comic-Con being closed. So that's something that's kind of on the table. Maybe we can get the Enzobi people to come out. I don't know. I mean, it's the world's our oyster, right? Like, but again, it's like, let me just get through the first one and see where it goes, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that about does it for our discussion. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you are in the Brooklyn area, you can get your tickets to Kaiju Brooklyn down below in the description. Please buy a ticket. We want this event to do well. So if you're in the Brooklyn area, please.
Yes, we do. Yes, we want the event to do well, everyone. But thank you so much for having me on and giving me a voice and helping me promote the show. You've been really great about everything. Appreciate it.
No worries, no worries. So before we head out, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you and your artwork?
Sure. My artwork, Instagram is the best. I really do enjoy Instagram the most. You just go to my website to find all my socials. It's www.roboseven.com, ROBO, the number 7.com. Instagram is at Roboseven, but it's spelled out, the word 7, not the number 7. And for Kaiju Brooklyn, you can get tickets at bk1.org. That's bkone.org. Get tickets there, or you can go to our social media, you can go to Kaiju Brooklyn, which is on both Facebook and Instagram. It's just Kaiju Brooklyn. Real simple.
Very simple. All right. Well, thank you again so much. It has been a pleasure. And to you watching at home, thank you so much for tuning in to Chill with Kaiju Kim and hanging out with me and my fantastic guests. Don't forget to like this stream if you had a good time here tonight and subscribe if you haven't already. And that'll do it for tonight. See you next time. Bye-bye.